Welcome back everyone. On this video, I'll show you some great footage of my 2021 travel from Oregon to the Death Valley, and then I'll show you my 790R in action at the West Side Road around the Badwater area of the park, and then continuing on to Artists Road on the Artists Palette area. It's a very nice area of the Death Valley. Shortly after, I'll publish part 2 of this video of my 2021 visit to the Death Valley, and there'll be more action with the 790R in that video, including a picture-perfect ride going over a snowy pass to visit the famous racetrack. On that video, I'll also include a visit to Ballarat. And I'll document a major failure to my 790R rear shock. Stay tuned for that. So, sit back, relax, and I hope you will like this story and the images that go with it. Before we get into it though, here are the segments covered in this video, so you can use the marked time bar below to navigate to the areas of the video of your choice. I usually check road conditions before I decide the route to take to get to the Death Valley. Since from here in the Willamette Valley in Oregon to the Death Valley, we go through many passes with a higher than 5,000 feet elevation. Going through these passes may require chains, or they simply can be a challenge to go through, especially when you're pulling a trailer. There are sites from the 3 states where you can find information on road conditions. You just need to specify the route. You can also check live cameras on some of the passes. The Nevada site also gives live weather information associated with your chosen route. It just happened that, for the first time in several years, I did not check road conditions, nor the weather, and there were several major storms going on. I got my trailer loaded and ready to go and just drove based on my knowledge of the route, backed up by GPS. The route was the same route I've taken other times. But the lack of planning set me up for a nasty surprise. I picked up I-5 south to Highway 58, and when going over the Cascades in March, it is very common to find snow. So I was not too concerned when I came across this type of weather on my way up. Then I took Highway 97 south, and I'm here going over Chamotte. You may see some snow on the sides, but the road is clear. I love going through these roadside towns with their forest of colorful billboards luring travelers for a stop. From there, I got into California via Klamath Falls. Getting into California and taking Highway 139 was all good. Eventually, I got to Canby by sunset, and that was a really nice, beautiful sunset, by the way. From here is where things got sketchy for the first time in this trip. Leaving Canby, I took what I always do, a no-service 67-mile stretch of road towards Susanville that goes over passes above the 5,000 feet of elevation, and it is a remote area. The worst of it is that I got into this segment of road exactly when it got dark and when it started snowing. First, it was just light snow, and I was only concerned about places at higher elevations, where I feared snow accumulation or the road surface freezing. I never paid as close attention to ice signs as I did on this trip. But it was all good, until it was not. Eventually, I got caught out on a whiteout situation. I had to stop in the middle of the road to lock my truck's hubs to get into 4x4 when the truck started losing traction. But I made it to Susanville. What a relief. Believe me, I was really concerned. I marked this stretch of road to be avoided on my next trips. There is an alternate option going through Alturas and driving on 395 all the way to Reno, and from there jump to 95, all the way to Beatty. From Susanville, I continued south. I drove until I got to Mina. It was getting late, The temperature was going down and I had some higher passes ahead of me. I did not want to risk it, so I stopped and slept in my truck at a truck stop. I'm glad I had stopped. Now I was finally checking the weather and road condition news. A snowstorm had just been through this area and parts to the south, exactly where I had to go through. From here, there were no other options but to continue on this road going south. There are obvious risks when driving in these conditions. So, if you have to drive carefully. But the reason I'm showing this video to you is because there is no question about the sense of adventure that driving in this condition delivers and the beauty of this desert region covered in snow. I would not recommend it to anyone, but if you find yourself in this situation, don't drive at night. You'll be safer stopping somewhere, and then you get to enjoy the snowed-in landscapes during the daytime. During this entire stretch of road towards Tonopah, at every pass or higher elevations, I found snow. I stopped in Tonopah to fill up the tanks. It's an interesting town with its clown motel welcoming bikers. After Tonopah, there will be one last pass just past Goldfield at about 6,000 elevation. It was quite the situation in Goldfield. And on the pass, just south of town, there was a sign for installing chains before going up the pass. I stopped to install the chains, but no one was doing it. I could see trucks coming down the pass with no chains, so I risked it. And it was all good and clear. I had all kinds of traction in 4x4 mode. Once again, check this beautiful landscape and all these frozen Joshua trees. So this pass just south of Goldfield was the last time I had to worry about road conditions on my trip to the Death Valley. As I got closer to Beatty, temperatures got warmer. I could see patches of blue in the sky and the clouds turned from gray to white. That was it. A few miles south and I was in another world. I got to Beatty, stopped to fuel up just next to the Stagecoach Hotel and Casino. The first time I ever came to the Death Valley, my base camp for rides in the park was right here in Beatty, and I stayed at this hotel in that exact building there. As the tanks got filled up, I unlocked the hubs in what I thought would be the last time in this trip I would need to worry about this. From Beatty, I got into the Death Valley Park under beautiful blue skies. I was supposed to arrive early in the morning, but because of snow delays, I told the guys I was going to meet there not to wait for me for the day's ride. Eventually, I made it to my spot on the RV area of Stovepipe Wells, our base camp for this time, while the guys were out on a ride. I unloaded the bikes, and because of my late arrival and being tired from the 800-mile drive, I took the 790 on a light, meaning easy and short ride. The plan was to visit the Artist's Palette and ride the Artist's Road. But to get the full experience of getting into the Artist's Palette, I rode a few miles south on West Side Road in the Badwater area. This is a fun road. As you travel north on this road, you get a full view of the mountain range where Artist's Palette is located. And if it is later in the afternoon, like was like what was this case, the lower sun coming from the west will brighten the colors that led someone to name this the artist's palette. And here, enjoy a couple of minutes of footage of me riding the 790R on the artist's road. From here I went back to camp and I could see storms were brewing in the northern areas of the park. March is a transition away from winter and you'll find reasonable, comfortable temperatures for riding, but it brings a side of winter storms here and there. Because I like photography and video, I have to say gray and stormy skies make for such a nicer background to the already beautiful landscapes of the park than what you get from blue skies. I arrived back at camp under a growing cloud coverage. And as I parked my bike by the trailer, I could see some fog building in the horizon. Talking to the guys, they told me areas to the north of the park, around the racetrack, were getting a few inches of snow. When I heard about this, I decided right then, right there, what would be my ride for the next day. I would not ride with the guys, because if there was snow on the racetrack, I wanted to check it out. So stay tuned for part 2 when I will show this beautiful ride to the racetrack and the accoutrements along the way. I appreciate you watching this video. I now have more than 100 subscribers and 4 of my videos have more than 1,000 views. That's awesome. Thank you.